I'm Haynes Miller. I'm substituting for David Jarrison today. So you have a substitute teacher today. So I haven't been here in this class with you, so I'm not completely sure where you are. I think you've just been talking about differentiation, and you've got some examples of differentiation, like these basic examples. The derivative of x to the n is in x to the n minus 1. And I think maybe you spent some time computing the derivative of the sine function as well recently. And I think you have some rules for extending these calculations as well. For instance, I think you know that if you differentiate a constant times a function, what do you get? The constant comes outside like this. Or I could write cu prime is cu prime. That's this rule, multiplying by a constant. And I think you also know about differentiating a sum. Or I could write this as u plus v prime is u prime plus v prime. So I'm going to be using those, but today I'll talk about a collection of other rules about how to deal with a product of functions, a quotient of functions, and best of all, composition of functions. And then at the end, I'll have something to say about higher derivatives. So that's the story for today. That's the program. So let's begin by talking about the product rule. So the product rule tells you how to differentiate a product of functions, and I'll just give you the rule. First of all, the rule is it's u prime v plus u v prime. A little bit funny, differentiating a product gives you a sum. But let's see how that works out in a particular example. For example, suppose that I wanted to differentiate the product. Well, the product of these two basic examples that we just talked about, I'm going to use the same variable in both cases instead of different ones like I did here. So the derivative of x to the n times sine of x. So this is a new thing. Couldn't do this without using the product rule. So the first function is x to the n, and the second one is sine of x, and we're going to apply this rule. So u is x to the n, u prime is, according to the rule, n x to the n minus 1. And then I take v and write it down the way it is, sine of x. And then I do it the other way. I take u the way it is, that's x to the n, and multiply it by the derivative of v, v prime. We just saw v prime is cosine of x. So that's it. Obviously, you can differentiate longer products of more things, by doing it one at a time.